net going into these last 3 games. And of course, with that 1.5x points multiplier, anything can change so quickly. So even the likes of Vico and Flixie, if Peterbot and Pollo, Thomas and Queasy don't have a very good end to the day, Vico and Flixie could be your FNCS Global Champions for this year. So it's still all to play for, and it's going to be electric, Zeke. This is really where, this is the business end of the competition, we call it.
I know, we just cannot discredit this Victory Royale. 100 points. Yeah. I mean, right? A single duo could find themselves a Victory Royale, and then everything changes. This leaderboard shakes up. We could see Peterbot and Pollo have a slip-up like they've had, right? The same thing for Thomas and G. Any of these teams could. Now, we don't want that.
No.
But it could happen with 3 games remaining.
Yeah, and I love the way that these end games have been going. We've had wins from the high ground, we've had wins from the low ground, we've had solo competitions, we've had 2v2v2s. It has just been an all-encompassing experience of what Fortnite has to offer.
Yeah, we've had a little bit of everything, haven't we? Solo clutches went crazy. Of course, there's that one game today where we had like 5 or 6 solos just in the game alone. So yeah, we've kind of had a little taste of everything. Now this is where things get really serious. I expect to see a little bit of change of strategy from some of our teams that maybe aren't doing so great. Some of the teams at the top, I think I'm expecting more nerves from, because this is really where it's make or break.
I think this is also where we're going to see a lot of issues with Storm Surge. A lot of players playing as safe as they can possibly be because they don't want to get eliminated. Regardless of going for those eliminations, they want those placement points. So I think that it's going to be a bit of a struggle for a lot of the teams that don't have kind of those off-spawn fights or other duos near them. They're going to have to make some big rotations to get those tags, or at least have some strategy in their back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just curious to start diving into what has changed, right? These players have had this time to kind of just wash away. Those first 9 games don't matter. We just have to show up for the next 3. These next 3 games will define our legacy, the legacy we leave here at the FNCS Global Championship. It is time. This is game number 10. Let's load right back on that battle bus with MDF and the best taco.
Thank you guys so much. And yes, MDF, we have officially crossed the halfway point. Match number 10 is in sight. And what's even more crazy to even consider currently was that performance out of Peterbot to close things off, because so many of these teams, they just had to sit and ice out for 20 minutes watching that. But we're ready to see what match 10 has in store for us. And like I'd already mentioned, MDF, everyone witnessing Peterbot's pop-off to conclude match number 9, then you go with your duo, you sit and you wait, think, talk, but what do you do realistically when you are dealing with the Thanos of the lobby?
Yeah, I mean, hey, they said it, we didn't, right? This is the truth of the matter, is that everyone looks up to this team as clearly the most powerful in the lobby, but now that we are in the back half, I mean, that short break does allow for other teams to try to sit down and formulate a strategy. 30 minutes between a game where you get to look into the VOD, look into the replay client, right? Feel out what exactly is going on around you is a huge opportunity. I mean, even now, we're seeing people like Acorn potentially find fights there in the feed, but Huddy and Kovacs need to just escape this duo, quite honestly.
Seems like Sky beat Huddy and Kovacs to the punch. He's actually got a Gatekeeper shotgun, which is going to fare significantly better, you would think, at least, but Huddy actually going to find the first assault. Sky has been knocked. It's exclusively down to Scroll now to try and stay alive, but he's not going to be able to make it work. Huddy and Kovacs, once again, fully in control and commanding Rebel's Roost.
Very nicely done for them now, as we are just jumping into things here. Peterbot, Pollo looking pretty good now. What's happening though? There's action happening here at the raft. They don't want nothing to do with it as they're shying away. Swizzy and Japko get a little bit of loot and just back off as fast as possible. You know, it is pretty interesting to think about a 40-point gap that was once at the start of the event closed, and then all of a sudden sprung right back into the action come the back half. So really showing you that when Peterbot and Pollo win a game, it's usually explosive.
And the other thing that's important to note, though, is over at the raft, sure, we're seeing quick departures from Swizzy and Yapko, but their intent for 2 days in a row now has been exclusively get what they can and then immediately start to head towards the weapons bunker. That's been their big play, is trying to establish their surge damage around the underworld, around Grim Gate. But for Clix and Veno, it's another beast entirely. They're dealing with Damo and Resigns. Resigns, though, not going to be able to work his way out of this one, but Clix could pay the price instead. Cuts off into the corner. Damo left to fend for himself here, but Clix is incredibly low. Veno has been knocked, and it's going to be Oshi coming out on top. A massive upset for Clix and Veno. They were inside of our top 10, but with that confidence secure by Damo, this is a real opportunity because this is the fastest conclusion we've seen yet.
Yeah, and you know, you saw what happened there. They didn't have material to work with. Things ended so fast, and not being able to secure the elimination itself is also just small points lost here. Jumping in with Chicho and Trulix, finding body tags. The Monarch pistol obviously hitting in the range of that 60 plus, but Kanata and Cooper, this is the earliest we've seen them go head to head up against Alex and Worthy, forcing them out of the drop. That was just one of the two, though. Malabuka and Mustache not happy with Kanata and Cooper taking their pickings here. This is almost a throwback to the Invitational when Kanata had beef at the racetrack up against Malabuka and Mustache.
Malabuka, Thomas HD at the time, but things have shifted because Kanata and Cooper finding that singular elimination now puts them in a power position here at Restored Reels. They have a very real opportunity as well to try and see if they can look for not just the solo, but also taking advantage of the other half section, because keep in mind, Restored Reels usually getting split between only 2 duos, but since Alex and Worthy got cut off so soon, that's going to be even better opportunity still, because Kanata and Cooper know that that POI has not been fully looted.
Well, matches 9 and 10 have been very interesting since we can see that the zone is going to remain down south once again, and Pewterbot and Pollo saw Clix and Vino get eliminated, and they wasted no time to rush in and secure these eliminations up against Resigns and Damo. Damo seems to have escaped outside of the Sandy Steps, but it makes sense, right? They would come in and just finish the job.
But Pewterbot and Pollo also knew that if Clix and Veno aren't there, they have zero fear of Oshi, and they've been very open about that. Chapantini, on the other hand, they've also joined the fray here at Restored Reels. Malabuka, Mustache, they've got one elimination as well. Teeny and Chap find themselves boxed in the center. They're trying to see if they can escape, but they're both gonna pressure onto Malabuka's walls. Malabuka hasn't had his shield fully cracked just yet, but he's definitely low enough. Same could be said though for Chapantini. Armored wall gonna cut off that aggressive path from Mustache, and they'll have a moment to regenerate their shields.
Chapantini have fallen down to 12th here, but still are very much in the running here. Let's not forget 1.5x points to be earned, so every game having that much more significance on the standing. Look at Teeny slide up behind Malabuka and find an elimination right there. Very nicely done. And in quick fashion there, picks up the loot. He desperately needed that. He's only got 200 material even now. Tap on the other side though, getting tagged off in the distance. Teeny looking to finish off Giras and Shari, who seems to have rotated north from the south after seeing Clix and Vino go down. They're like, oh, okay, there's no one a third party. Let's go the opposite way. Everyone's adjusting.
And I think that adjustment was so unexpected for Malabuka and Mustache. Malabuka was trying to stay hidden because he recognized the fact that there was Giras and Shari on the other side. But again, Teeny, Chap, wasting absolutely no time. Just caught in the center of the action.
I just want to say how interesting that Pewterbot and Pollo see Clix and Vino fall and they push in. Giras and Shari see it and like, let's get out. Very different philosophy, very different strategies at play there, but nonetheless, we progress here onto Bryson Bolts now, who have a little bit of this high ground spot here. Bryson Bolts continue to kind of remain inside this top 10 conversation. However, still shy of a victory royale to really propel them up towards the top.
For sure, but for Baka and Pars, this is a site that they haven't had a chance to really take too much advantage of in a while. Their drop by the ship it station usually leaves them in contention to be able to look at a forecast tower or two, but because of the action that's been taking place between Vico, Flixie, Peterbot, Pollo, all these other duos trying to establish their dominance over these forecast hours. It's been difficult for Pars and Baka to work their way into that conversation. But again, this is also partially Domino's effect because Peterbot and Pollo rotated so early on to push Damo and Resigns off of the Clix Veno eliminations that now it's left an opening for Baka and Pars to set up home base around the forecast tower that would typically be contested by Peterbot and Pollo.
Rise and Agers looking to see it. They can get a couple tags on a team rotating nearby. Well inside the top 10 here. We can start shifting our conversations a bit towards the pricing as well. Let's not forget how significant it will be as you start breaking into top 10. The differences in what you earn up towards top 5. That's what players are going to start having to worry about as well, given the performances. Even if first place is not in the question, you want to be up as high as possible.
And that's also an interesting dynamic to consider because some of these teams that are outside of that top 25 in the leaderboard, this might just be a prime opportunity for them to be as reckless as they want because realistically, 6 points per elimination, if they're able to stack 3, 4, possibly even 5, it's never going to be easy, especially not at the caliber of a global stage lobby. But when you know that everybody gets money and when you see such distinct gaps between the prize pooling just for 1 or 2 more placements higher, it's definitely worth trying to key after.
Yeah, Vico and Flixie thinking about keying Shadow and Virgo. On that note, Shadow and Virgo very much aware that this bunker's gonna open here. Now looking to back off, seems like they've sort of met their match. We had time to catch up with Vico's parent, and they said they expect Vico to get much more eliminations today. Make some noise here at the Reckless Railways. I was just gonna say, but you gotta be careful because here comes Flixie and Vico coming back to home territory. First tag's gonna come out onto Aviv by Flixie from the low ground. A great peek, and Aviv's gonna respect the damage coming in from Vico now and back off.
But both of these teams need to be wary of the fact that they don't want to get caught outside of the zone for a little bit too long. Teams inside of the zone already managing to build up more primary positioning, and when you're trying to break through some of these surge bases that are in more of that central map position, it can be very difficult to work around and still retain as many resources. All of these splashes, a little bit of Flowberry Fizz that Vico has left over. It seems right now he can definitely find himself more time than what Bugha and Aviv had to offer, but because of that factor, Bugha, Aviv, they're not really interested in the fight.
One thing to note too, the bunker, not really talked about how much ammunition it serves out to the players that secure it. You saw there, Vico and Flixie had 300 ammunition apiece, where you start jumping into other teams who are quite literally dwindling down on resources so soon, they'll start to run out.
It's a big part of the reason why Kovacs seemingly wants to see if he can find another refresh if possible, but again, teams next to the Nitrodrome fully aware of the fact that these last little bits of metal are probably gonna have to be the hard mats that carry them through the rest of this mid game. Some nice connections though. Rapid, that is a big knock.
A huge knock there. And look at this, we jump back in and Flixie's actually down. What went wrong? And now it's up to Vico to try to play this one out. We saw Flixie lurking, trying to get a weird angle onto Aviv and Bugha, and they might have actually caught him off guard.
Aviv and Bugha may have even falsely alluded to Vico and Flixie as if they were, trying to just escape, but in actuality, they were really just setting the trap all along. Flixie was playing rather separate in the first place, and yeah, here, you can already tell, shields cracked, low and exposed, and too easy for the big cheese to take care of.
Aviv and Bugha on the move now. No one in sight here as they get a nice clean rotate down the river's edge here. This is match number 10. The back half of the tournament is very much underway here. Aviv and Bugha have a long way to go if they want to break into that top 10, but they are knocking on the door now as several eliminations in a good placed game here will put them inside the conversation. And this is after having such a struggle day one, right? Completely almost unheard of for Bugha and Aviv, but this day two performance is one to be impressed with. Meanwhile, Huddy and Kovacs from one bad game the previous round, seems like they're carrying that bad vibe into this one here as well. It's not looking good.
From the frying pan straight into the fire is what it feels like currently for Huddy, but he's hoping he can continue to try and make his escape. Chap, though, intent on looking for the confirmation of this next elimination. He wants the points, but more importantly still, he wants the siphon of those materials, or all the little goodies that Huddy might still have to offer with his loadout as well. Keep in mind the splashes and the ammunition go a long way for some of these teams. Called.
Vico has now brought back Flixie with the reboot van. The most important part about losing your teammate, I think, is the time lost, right? And the resources handed over to the opponent to, of course, secure it. Sure, you'll have time to kind of get back into the swing of things, but you are very behind on time now, which obviously is so valuable, and you do not get back.
Well, I think what's even crazier still is the fact that they were still a couple hundred damage above the threshold. Despite this setback, they are still in an okay position to try and crawl their way out of the hole that Aviv and Bugha essentially placed them into. But top of Rift Island definitely starting to heat up here. Muzz, Epic Whale, after some very essential material. They have 0 metal though, and that could be a massive detriment as the mid to late game transition begins to unfold, because they're gonna have to play exclusively off of brick walls if they enter any engagements at the top of Rift Island here.
Still very difficult spot to be in for Huddy here. They have the damage, not much more than that. That's really the truth of it. Look at how many teams have also began to kind of house up here on the Rift Island. You have the likes of Muzz and Epic Whale, amongst others. Huddy here just trying to figure out what he can scrap together. Material is extremely low here. Even now, he's playing with fire here as he's trying to inch his way into the structure above, getting ever so closer to visuals and company. But on the other side, Peterbot and Boyo making a move here from the outside of the zone now, and they are not looking too hot down at the red line rig.
This could actually be a big spot of trouble here if Peterbot and Boyo aren't careful. They had teams on both sides of them as they continue to try and work their way into Brawler's Battleground. Just look at the amount of materials they've had to expend already, and they're still sitting just outside the edge of zone. All the while, Vico, Flixie, they have cracked into the edge, but now they gotta try and break past Reason and the deal.
This is a fight they've seen before. No strangers to one another on the European region. However, there's still Michael and Job also firing in on this fight, so it's not just a clean 2v2. Vico and Flixie, though, have a lot to worry about. They need damage, but more importantly, they need this refresh. Job steps in and just gets crushed for a moment there, but Flixie damaged as well. Vico doubles down on the armored walls and actually finds the elimination. Meanwhile, Boyo and Peterbot are fighting their way in as well. And this time it's up against Cold and Acorn.
Cold and Acorn have been struggling today as far as their surge has been concerned, and Big part of the reason why they don't have that direct contest that they were able to depend on in day number 1 up against the likes of Andalix and Sato. So taking this exchange with Peterbot and Pollo, it's only going to hinder both teams at this stage because Baka and Pars, they're starting to put their heads into the mix and resigns. A lone soldier, he's not going to be able to make it out.
Huge pickup for Epic Whale, though. He's actually going to be the one to get the last tag from the Rift Island down onto Resigns there. Meanwhile, you would have thought it was Damo who was close nearby, but no, it's Agers in the storm, looking like a solo as well. What is happening here? This is going to give a sense of security to Pollo and Peterbot when the skin comes out and they see Agers potentially there in the distance.
Yeah, they're also going to recognize the fact that he's a...
They're going to think he's a solo, but he's not.
Agers is just far enough away from Rise, though, that Pollo and Peterbot, you saw the confidence in that movement. They were full sprinting. They're not trying to hide anything about their intention. And Agers instantly recognizing the danger in sight. It's going to fall back immediately. And now Pollo, Peterbot, they see his duo in the distance, and they're going to opt to fall back. Agers and Rise will live to see another day.
Definitely a close one. Pollo and Peterbot were moving so fast as well. And, you know, for good measure, they need more damage. They are not quite there just yet. Giras and Shari going to be the next ones up for Pickens here. But nothing is going to connect. Getting close now to the top 25. Take a look at the highlights. You blinked, you missed it. Baka and Pars get deleted by the young Cold. Very nicely done. He's starting to heat up, it seems now. In the back half, that short break probably much needed.
That last elimination, though, that Flixie and Vico picked up off screen is carrying their surge damage threshold currently, sitting just barely above at 113 over. But Vico, Flixie, more importantly still, they need to find another loot refresh if possible. They're gonna have to create the situation themselves. Meanwhile, Peterbot Pollo, this could be exactly everything they were looking for. Ed and Persa have fallen, and a big refresh of materials is finally headed their way.
That was actually so fast too, right? One of the fastest eliminations they picked up, but look, no heals were given out. You would think you catch two teams or a set of duos here on the outside, catch the quick elimination, and you'd be fully refreshed, but they are still in a very bad situation as far as heals are concerned.
Yeah, but it's all from rags to riches when you're looking at Thomas HD and Queasy's loadouts in comparison to Pollo and Peterbot. They are in tatters at this phase. And now, taking the flaming boost tube, they're gonna try to catapult themselves. It's helping them cover some distance, but at the same time, they're just still so far behind everyone else, very likely to get held the moment that they surface.
They go, sneaking their way out from the edge here. All eyes on Peterbot and Pollo right now, as this is, again, one of those very dangerous situations they found themselves in where Pollo doesn't have much HP. Peterbot holding on with just a single strong foot. Let's see it though. They find a little weak ramp here, try to double out onto Jonas and Pixis. And nothing comes out. Pixie manages to level up just a little bit more there. And the hunt continues.
Peterbot and Pollo, though, they're going to send out their next scan off that reveal medallion. It's Siyun and Kadu. But Siyun and Kadu, they might even be caught in a different exchange of their own. I believe that they're applying some pressure onto Epicwell and Muzz, who are sitting on the low ground just underneath them. Chiefs as well, so incredibly hurt, but Peterbot, Pollo, they are just praying for any sort of refresh, but nobody is coming near them. Keep in mind that reveal medallion also marking their position on the map. People know Peterbot and Pollo are on the approach. Yeah,
Kato is trying his best to see if he can swing around this dead side for the rotate, but Peterbot and Pollo not having anything to do with it. In fact, finding more tags now into Kadu. They're gonna recognize, we just shield cracked here, push in, take the wall. They didn't have heavy material before, so what did they have to work with? Armored wall comes out, give them a little bit of room, but different duos now looking to collapse in. Luckily, the tag was onto Peterbot and not his teammate. Otherwise, it will be rats here. Great Monarch tags, but they are literally operating on fumes right now.
Peterbot is down to his final 4 builds.
Wow.
Make that 3. He's still got 6 armored walls walls, though, but he'll have to be so meticulous with how he actually places them. But
Needed
just
that.
in time, Chris has been found.
It's
Big
not
refresh.
much. It's not much, but it's something. And down they go in 17th place. They just couldn't get a footing. Look at who it is. Vico on the other side here. Falls and takes the damage too. Out goes some of the immediate threat. And things begin to open up for Cammy and Seti. Once again on the high ground. Queasy and Thomas also, who are just on a day 2 performance of their careers right now.
The opportunity has arisen, though. Thomas HD and Queasy know if they can just close this one out in any sort of fashion, like some of the successful matches they've had earlier here today, that could be all the difference necessary. Only 54 points currently separates first and second place. Sphinx from the low ground, trying to take some chops up onto height. Success as well. Seti and Cammy will be forced to try and pave their way forward. Still looking to maintain a front side position of this next zone, but Duke, Sphinx right behind them, threatening. They're gonna have to push forward as well, though. It's only a matter of time before the two have to clash.
Sphinx and Dukes have turned their focus to high ground here. They want to be up on that podium before the weekend's over, and there's just 3 games to do it. Here we are in the final moments, top 15 now. Things are starting to heat up here for Thomas HD and Queasy. Material running low. They have to find the refresh here. Desperation will start to kick in. They saw the shield crack. Sidewall goes in. They're fully committed. Armored walls. It's all or nothing. And Thomas HD gets trapped and put down. Back to the lobby he goes, but we've seen Queasy be here before. He will have to figure out how to clutch up for the team now.
At least for a moment, he's gonna opt to play his final med kit. It'll buy him a little bit of time. He's hoping that it'll buy him even a placement or 2, but now pushing in late from the backside of zone, hoping that he can drop in overhead, sees bodies, here's the shots connecting all around. Prism is gonna get knocked. That's the refresh he needed, but the splashes, Queasy can't use them in time. He gets the elimination, but at what cost?
And it wasn't enough to overthrow the gap between him and Peterbot and Boyo. The small chance that he had, the crack in the window that was open, he could not fit through. And it remains as close as ever as we are bending into game 11 and 12 of the tournament. This is Bryce's and Bolt's chance to secure a victory. This is Sphinx and Duke's chance to secure a victory. Or can Cammy and Seti pull a trick out of the hat at this point and come back with another win today?
Seti is already out. Cammy may have been right next to him. Swizzy and Yapko, on the other hand, they're looking to be the ones to try and overtake the low ground. They've created so much space, but working through these pre-existing builds and even the buildings themselves here at Brawler's Battleground is posing so much of an issue because Bryce Bolt's in the mid-ground. Pixie as a solo. He's gonna opt for the medkit play as well. Teams falling left and right, and the solos left behind, just hoping that the duos clash into each other.
Japko and Swizzy, very solid team, doing what they need to. Beautiful tag out to Gyros, puts them down quickly. Teammate falls behind it, and then Japko delivered Pixie right afterwards, and they jumped their way up to 8 eliminations in the top 3 now. Bolts is weak, but Bryce is healthy. Sphinx and Dukes waiting their timeout from the high ground, listening to what's happening down low. The medallion's in full effect, so they have all the information needed, and they're cutting them off. What an angle from Bryce here to find 1, now 2 on the low ground. Down comes Sphinx and Dukes. The call has been made. They're looking to close this game out, and they're a very weakened duo down here.
Duke's feeling good about this one, though. He knows that these players have got to be low. Final 3 builds remain. Sphinx right up above to back him up, but it's only gonna take one last shot. Dukes waiting to see which hole Bolts tries to scramble out from under. Armored walls to surround himself for the time being.
That's so smart. He's got something to heal with. He actually is trying to survive it, but Sphinx was also ready on the high ground, and he has an extra med kit. It's gonna be so close here as Sphinx has run out of heals, and Bolts has 1 in 3, 2, 1. It is over, and Bolts wins the game via armored walls and med kits. I knew they would win one this weekend.
They so long. It was only a matter of time before they were finally able to seek this one out. A big victory royale to surge their way up the leaderboards. Heartbreaking moment for Spinks and Dukes, but they did their best.
Would you please put your hands together for Bryson Mars? It is good to talk to you guys. Walk us through the end game there. We saw the heels came into play, but what a way. The crowd absolutely loving that too.
We finally got a south pole for the first time. It went to the sand. We also got surge guns this game, so we decided to just stay our spot, get surge. After that, we made it to end game pretty easily. Once we were there, it was just refreshes, you know, it was just clockwork. I don't know, Bryce is one of the best IGLs in the game. I'm one of the best fraggers, and put that together, we're one of the best players ever.
I mean, Bryce, you know, we hear that from their bolts. It was an incredible way to round things up here. Obviously, you guys want to get as far up the leaderboard as possible now. Walk us through this competition thus far. How has it been for you both as a duo?
It's been pretty challenging, but like we're the best duo, so it's nothing like different than NA East, pretty much, or NA Central.
And I got to ask as well, we heard it from these guys, Fort Worth. I mean, Fort Worth, let them hear you one more time. You've got the crowd on your side too here. That must give you a lot of wind in your wings as well.
Yeah, a lot of adrenaline running. I'm really nervous, but I'm also excited.
All right. You heard it there. Bryson Bolts, one more time. Give it up for your winners! Whew. Lots more coming our way here. Bryson Bolts there securing the victory, but we've got 2 more games left to play here. What's going to happen next? You have a front row seat. Do not go anywhere. This crowd already, we know you guys are too. We'll see for plenty more right after this break.